What if your emotions aren't yours? What if every time you felt happy, excited, or motivated, you were being guided to feel that way? Because that's exactly what's happening. The apps you use, the videos you watch, the news you read, they don't just predict your emotions, they design them. We live in an age where your feelings are no longer private experiences. They're a product, coded, measured, and sold. And the more you chase happiness online, the more control you give away. This is the happiness algorithm. And once you see how it works, you'll never scroll the same way again. The science of emotion engineering. Emotions used to be human. They were messy, unpredictable, and personal. But in the digital age, they've become data points. Every click, pause, or swipe teaches an algorithm how to move you. What makes you smile, what makes you rage, what makes you stay. Behind every app is an invisible feedback loop, a psychological mirror that learns your brain better than you ever will. Your happiness is no longer random, it's optimized. Companies use neuroscience and behavioral psychology to turn emotions into engagement. Because the more they can predict what makes you feel, the more they can predict what makes you spend. The business of feelings. Let's be clear, you're not the customer. You're the product. Your attention is auctioned in real time, sold to advertisers who want to own your next thought. But they don't buy demographics anymore. They buy emotional states. They don't care who you are, they care how you feel. Are you lonely? Here's a dating app. Are you insecure? Here's a skincare ad. Are you bored? Here's a 7-second dopamine hit disguised as content. The entire economy of tech runs on one simple equation: control emotion, right pointing arrow, control behavior. And the behavior they want is simple: stay online. The algorithm that knows you better than you. Most people think algorithms are logical, cold, mathematical systems. But modern algorithms are emotional. They're trained on billions of human reactions, learning what triggers you faster than you can self-reflect. They know what makes you angry before you do. They know how long you'll stare at an ex's photo. They even know the time of day you're most vulnerable. And then, they exploit it. Your feed isn't a reflection of your interests. It's a psychological experiment, constantly adjusting to keep you emotionally invested. That's why you can't stop scrolling. Not because you lack discipline, but because your nervous system is being played like an instrument. The emotional manipulation cycle. Here's the emotional loop the happiness algorithm runs on: trigger emotion. Offer relief. Repeat. You get anxious, right pointing arrow, open your phone, right pointing arrow, see something comforting. You get bored, right pointing arrow, scroll, right pointing arrow, find something exciting. You feel alone, right pointing arrow, see a post that makes you feel connected. The platform gives you temporary emotional regulation. And you reward it with more attention. That's how you get trained, like a lab rat pressing a lever. Every notification, every sound, every red bubble is a breadcrumb designed to lead you back. But the trap is this: the algorithm doesn't care if you're happy. It only cares if you're engaged. The economics of emotion: your happiness is profitable. But your conflict is even more valuable. Anger spreads faster than joy. Outrage drives more comments. Fear keeps people glued to their screens. That's why social platforms slowly shift your feed toward extremes. They're not trying to make you miserable, they're trying to maximize engagement. But misery is the byproduct of monetized emotion. You're stuck in a cycle where your most reactive self is the most profitable version of you. The calmer you become, the less money you make them. And that's why peace rarely trends. The psychology of happiness triggers. Let's go deeper. Every emotion you feel online is being mapped, labeled, and tested. Designers use micro-interactions to trigger specific neural responses. Color, red for urgency. Blue for trust. Timing, delays to build anticipation. Sound, notification pings tuned to mimic slot machines. It's not design, it's conditioning. Your brain starts to associate the digital world with tiny bursts of control and reward. You're no longer just using technology, you're depending on it to feel alive. And that's where happiness becomes dangerous. Because once it's programmable, it's no longer yours. The myth of digital happiness: we think we're using technology to make life better. But most of the time, it's quietly making life shorter. We chase micro-happiness, likes, laughs, validation, and trade away macro-happiness, purpose, patience, depth. We think joy comes from newness, but real happiness comes from stillness. The more you try to capture happiness, the more it escapes you, because the act of chasing turns joy into data. And the algorithm loves that. It feeds on the gap between your real self and your ideal self. The more you seek validation, the more it feeds you content to keep you seeking. It's not showing you what you love, it's showing you what will make you crave more. The emotional economy of loneliness: in the past, loneliness was a personal problem. Now it's a business model. Platforms profit from the illusion of connection. They replace conversation with comments, friendship with follows, and intimacy with interaction. You're surrounded by people, but rarely with them. And that's the trick. They give you just enough connection to survive, but not enough to feel fulfilled. That way, you always come back. Loneliness isn't a glitch in the system, it's the glue that holds it together. The happiness feedback loop: the happiness algorithm works like a mirror. It doesn't show you reality, it shows you the emotion you're most likely to act on. If you linger on negativity, you'll get more negativity. If you react to outrage, you'll get more outrage. The system adapts to what keeps you emotionally charged, and in doing so, it slowly rewires your personality. You think you're choosing your emotions, but really, your emotions are being chosen for you. That's why so many people feel anxious for no reason. Your nervous system is living inside a constant feedback loop of simulated highs and emotional crashes. And each loop brings you further from yourself. The emotional reset, taking back control. So how do you escape the happiness algorithm? You start by remembering this: technology isn't evil, but it is amoral. It amplifies whatever you give it. If you feed it attention without awareness, it will eat you alive. But if you feed it intention, if you choose what to consume consciously, it becomes a tool again, not a trap. Here's how you take control back. 1. Slow your inputs. If you open your phone, do it deliberately, not automatically. Delay the first scroll. Break the reflex. 2. Rebuild real rewards. Get your dopamine from effort, not ease. Exercise, create, learn, connect, offline. 3. Protect emotional silence. Silence is how your nervous system recalibrates. Without it, you can't feel true peace. Every time you sit in silence, you remind your brain that happiness doesn't need a signal. The redefinition of happiness: true happiness isn't excitement. It's equilibrium. It's the state where your emotions belong to you again, not to a brand, not to a feed, not to a platform. Happiness is not something you chase, it's something you return to. And no algorithm can code that. Because peace doesn't generate profit. But it does generate presence. And that's something no app can simulate. Closing, the freedom beyond the feed: every time you open your phone, you enter a psychological casino. But unlike a slot machine, you're not gambling for money, you're gambling for meaning. And meaning doesn't come from engagement. It comes from attention, the kind that's directed inward, not outward. So the next time the feed tries to tell you what happiness looks like, pause. Breathe. Remember, happiness isn't something you scroll into, it's something you feel when the scrolling stops. Because the ultimate rebellion in the digital age isn't deleting your apps. It's keeping your soul intact while you use them. And that's how you beat the happiness algorithm.